7:36 on Wednesday, April 12th, 2017. Wow, what an interview. That'll kick off our Wingin' It Wednesday for today. Bernie, I'm going to go ahead and give you permission 24 minutes early. We're going to blow out the top of the hour news so we can keep the conversation going because the phone calls were going nuts during that interview.
Okay.
Wingin' It Wednesday brought to you every Wednesday by Service Cadillac. Look, every color, every trim, get exactly what you want at Service Cadillac.
You'll look good in it, too.
A huge selection of over 20 2016 vehicles.
With
still thousands off.
Wait a minute. They're still offering that?
It's still there. Adaptive start, 20-way adjustable seats, heads-up display, surround vision. It's just so great. At Service Cadillac, you can find that luxury pre-owned vehicles.
It's the comfort
way
you need.
To go. Fit your style and budget. Go see our friends Dean or Rhonda over there.
And you were already good looking. But you get up in that Cadillac, and I got to tell you.
Let me tell you.
It's Enrico Suave.
Soccer moms can't stop looking at me in the Target parking lot. We do have our panelists here.
Because he's so smooth.
Carol Ross and Warren Cottle. All right, Carol. So y'all were both in here for the interview. Still couldn't nail the governor down on how much he thinks we should spend. I mean, even if it was a perfect world, how much should we spend of the transportation budget on real transportation projects? Why is your answer not 100%?
Because it's a trick question. It's a trick question. Nobody wants to answer that. God forbid they should have to be held to account.
We have to pay a secretary. How many millions of dollars are you paying the secretary? I mean, I don't know.
How many contractors do we have on a project?
I'll tell you this.
How many
people love to
engineers?
Dump on the DOTD secretary. But they serve at the pleasure of the governor and the legislature. When they set up the priorities in the capital outlay program, in the transportation program, in whatever program they are, they have to follow whatever the priorities are. So, these guys go out. They're the flack catchers, right?
Sean Wilson, yes.
They are the flack catchers. Everybody says, why can't you do this? Why can't? Well, because we're not authorized by the legislature to do that, or the governor. The governor wants this or that or the other, and we know the power of a Louisiana governor.
And I'm going to tell you, two people who both will come on the show, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. Whether we agree, disagree, we ask questions, we go further with questions, or whatever the case may be, John Bell Edwards will come on the show, and he will have a back and forth discussion with us. Same thing with Sean Wilson. Whether people agree or disagree, at least the dialogue can happen.
Well, and we've had some good transportation secretary. I think of Cam Movasagi from Lafayette, and both of these guys, they had the best interests, but they are hamstrung. I mean, you can't do exactly what you want to do. You're stuck, and you have political considerations. No matter what they say, there are always political considerations. There are always powerful people in the legislature monkeying with the priority program. How does one project get on priority 1 and the other one get bumped off, or another one is stuck back in priority 5, or working its way through, and then all of a sudden it disappears from the transportation list. It's so political.
Plus the 20 cents. So we've got this 20 cents, right? But then there was the 16, I thought, and someone will correct me, that went to the timed project. Did it not?
Gosh,
but then there have
something like
only
that.
been 14 out of 16 of those completed, if I remember correctly.
If that. I mean, I think you're being very generous.
No, I think it was 14.
It was 14 projects?
I think 14 by this time. Yes, I believe it was 14.
So, and the other problem is that I've seen them debate back and forth is, okay, the low-hanging fruit, these smaller projects, we can push them through. The major projects like the I-49 connector, how long has that been hanging around? And if we don't get in, I saw the other day, they finally said, we're going to have to go with the overhead and we're going to have to push this through, because if we're going to get in line with any infrastructure spending from the feds in the Trump program, we're going to have to have this thing ready to go and stop the infighting. We drove on that Evangeline Thruway last night. It's still the Evangeline Thruway. It's not I-49. It is falling apart. It is falling apart. And once they designated it as the route, nothing could be done in that area to change the properties, to improve. All of that is dedicated roadway. So nothing is going to happen there until this thing gets built. So the people who are complaining that, yes, it's going to have an impact, either way, a recess would have had, according to some people, even more impact on the area. They've tried to mitigate the impact by limiting the number of access points and on and off ramps, which take up a huge amount of space and really will have an impact. But I mean, at some point, people, we have to get together and move the agenda forward.
Warren, what do you think? Where do we move on this?
I think at some point, we don't necessarily have to get together, but at some point, somebody got to have some damn leadership and stepped up there and said, this is what we're going to do, okay? You know, has it ever dawned on anybody that we fought all of World War II in 5 years? That we started from scratch. We built over 3 million airplanes. We built over 5 million tanks, whatever it was. We did every bit of that stuff. From the drawing board to the conception to the production to the destruction. We did it all in 5 years. And that was in 1941, 42, 3, 4, 5. Before we had computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing and all that stuff. Everything had to be drawn out with pencil and pens and whatever. But we did it. You know, and that's the same thing with this thing. We need some common sense in there. And that you're going to sit here and argue about doing this and doing that. Well, somebody's got to just sit down and say, all right, we're going to make a decision. We're going to do something one way or the other. You know, it took 50 years. 50 years to 4-lane Highway 90. Okay? They finished the last part of it. I believe it was in 2003 or 4 or something during Mike Foster's administration. And it was and it started in 1953. Or 54, that they finally opened up that last stretch between Amelia and Houma. And that, you know, that's just unheard of. When you turn around and look at what happened with the interstate program, it went really, really good. But now there's some parts of it, just like I-40 in Memphis, where it got bogged down and it's not going to be completed. It stops because people didn't want it to go through Overton Park Zoo. Well, you can move the zoo.
Yeah.
But no, we can't do that. You know, blah blah blah. You know, whatever. And that, you know, and this thing, if you look at it, and we started building these bridges. You know, one here, one there, one there. What, 15, 16, 18 years ago or something?
Yep.
Why didn't we just start building like 5 of them at a time?
You know, it's kind of funny, your comment about how we were able to do everything in World War II in 5 years. You know, well, there's your motivation.
Yeah.
The motivation to keep these projects going for so long is that people are getting paid all of the 20 years that it might take.
You're
if you're worried about
right.
a common enemy and worried about your country being bombed, you're going to get things done.
And you're exactly right. And that's why our big wars that we've been in ever since then never end, because the people who are running them, the contractors and all, their sole goal is to keep this thing going so we can get our contract renewed over and over and over until finally the government just finally runs out of money or whatever and says enough's enough, we're going to stop.
But the similar thing on when you asked the governor about the flood problem, you know, okay, it just struck me because I keep reading in the paper, they awarded a contract, first of all, you know, to some major company. Okay, maybe they were the only ones who could do it. I doubt that. I think there's some major companies inside the state of Louisiana who could do it. $250 million contract, right? And now they're fighting about it because they decided to pull it from the company, IEM, that got the contract first. Now they're fighting over it because there was a company that had a headquarters in here, but I think they're an out-of-state company, but they work in Louisiana a lot. And so now they're fighting over that. So how is that going to impact the people?
That's exactly right. That has
Your
a huge
point about
impact
having,
on the people.
Right, having the program in place, but all this political infighting over all of this money.
And we have done this before. Does anybody remember the Road Home program?
Oh, yeah.
We have done it before.
And
so
I believe
why
it got
can
that
we not
governor
do it better?
It got that governor beaten too.
Why can we not do it better? Where the hell is our game plan?
Because the governor said in his speech the other day or whatever, he mentioned that we have to do like Louisiana. We're unique. We got unique people. We got unique problems and blah, blah, blah. We have to find unique solutions. And I'm telling him, by God, it is a unique solution because it's the same old thing over and over and over. And we change the name of it and we do the same old thing over and over and think that people are so stupid that they just going to say, oh, well, that's good. That's good. It's just like when you call shooting craps gaming and not gambling.
Well, wait, but why would we want a unique program? You need to make it a program, model it on a program that worked.
That's right.
Don't give me something brand new. No need to rewrite those.
Look at a state like Indiana, which is roughly the same. Texas is a whole different animal,
Yeah, because they're like a whole
big
country.
and they're like their own country, right? But I mean, if you look at a state that's comparable to us, like Indiana or something like that, I mean, they have programs in place that work. I want to correct one thing. That governor was not defeated. She decided not to run for re-election.
Okay.
I'm going to keep that straight. But I mean, anyway, there are programs out there, successful programs that we could look at. But no, we have so much politics involved in the state of Louisiana and everybody jockeying.
But at the same time, it's the same situation with FEMA, too. You know, regardless, because even people that were on that panel said that there were slowdowns and delays with FEMA. Y'all, we're supposed to be the
they're
biggest
still
and the
recovering.
brightest. I know.
They're still recovering Sandy.
How is it that we can't get this right?
Because there's money and getting it wrong.
Money.
232-1542. Let's take a couple calls,
Yes,
then we
sir.
need to get a break in.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. You're on Wingin' It Wednesday. Go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, he said that HUD agreed with him about that cost and everything. Well, HUD is the most corrupt program in the government as we have now. They waste more damn money than anybody else. And then another thing, he's trying to convince himself that he has a plan. And like CB used to say, he's a damn lie.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he's right though. That he's singing my song. HUD is the most scandal-ridden department in
How
the
many times
country.
have we heard across this country, including in our own neighborhoods, that we have a problem with HUD? HUD-funded housing authorities. How many times?
Let's take one more call, then
Well,
we'll
the
get
money
to the
from
break.
Head Start and all that, and that program, the Smile, I think, comes through HUD, doesn't it?
232-1542. Go ahead with your comment.
Hey, good morning, guys. Bernie, I blew up your messenger on Facebook, but anyway, I was in rain yesterday.
Okay.
There were 12 people. One guy was pushing a buggy with the glue, and there were two guys carrying the reflectors.
Yes.
Two guys, not just one. And then there were 10 other people standing around watching this one guy
Hey.
push this buggy of glue.
I was going to say, bro, somebody's got to stand there and watch and smoke.
Oh my God! I mean, it blew me away. You know, the one guy pushing the tank looked like he was fixing to die, and the two guys carrying the reflectors, they should have been the ones pushing the tank because they were well fed. You know, just the inefficiencies there, and then just blocking traffic.
I do want to know. I'm glad you told me that. That was a 12-man job, and this was yesterday.
Putting
Tuesday,
reflectors down.
In rain,
No.
putting reflectors. Seriously, I am going to forward this question to my contact at DOTD and find out, is that DOTD? Did they contract it out? Why does it? Because, here's the thing. Maybe there's a reason that we don't understand. However, I'm telling you, that sitting on the side and smoking thing.
That's a real thing.
They're putting lipstick on the pig. The road is still broken. So all they're doing is repainting and restriping the broken-ass road.
All right.
Anyway, y'all have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
We will be back.
Shame
gotta
on
take
you.
a
My
break real quick.
mascara is running. Yeah. So hard.
All I can just imagine is the guy pushing the glue basket.
I do want. Hey, I want to reiterate this, okay? And I know that it's all fun and games. It is easy for us to sit here and be the Monday morning quarterback as we lift the heavy weights of all doing this. But in all sincerity, this man did come on this show.
Always agrees.
And
We
he always
agrees.
So whether he disagrees or you disagree or we all disagree, at least this man will come on this show and he won't talk me into a corner where I can't say anything.
Yep. All right. Well, let's take a quick break. We'll be back with Wingin' It Wednesday after this. Stay with us. 7:49. 7:53 at KPEL on April 12th, 2017. A bit of a wacky Wingin' It Wednesday segment that we're going to have, but we're going to skip over Fox at the top of the hour, continue our conversation with you. Given that our panelists don't run out, they're in high demand. We're just penciled in for one small hour once a week. Warren Cottle and Carol Ross. All right.
I will agree with Bernie about the governor. I mean, he did come on. He did take the tough questions.
Every time we have
Bernie, you were
asked him.
tough.
And
It
like
was
I
good.
said,
It was good.
There are many times we don't like the answers that we're giving. I'll tell you, but from interviewing governors in the past, he will at least give you an answer. He will at least,
And he'll
engage
and
with
he'll
you.
have the conversation with you, and he'll say, "I'm sorry that you feel that way, but this is how I see it."
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if what he's doing, even if we don't agree with it, I'm happy to know that we have a governor who seems to be engaged here, who's not running for other office, as our last governor did for the whole second term.
Oh my gosh.
I just.
But
I
I
think we should think
thought
about that.
getting into the budget. I know that's one of our topics, but anyway.
Yeah.
Getting into the budget, this thing that he threw out, this seems to me to be a real problem. That we had this task force, right? This budget reform task force. They went through all these machinations. They had all these meetings. They came out with these recommendations. And what does he do? Boom, we're going to do something called the CAT, a commercial activity tax, that nobody has really prepared for. Nobody's really studied. Nobody knows what the long-term impact will be in the state of Louisiana, which, as we know, is rather different than many other states. And as Rob asked him, the Texas program is different. They call it a gross receipts tax, but they do it on the margin. They don't do it on the entire gross amount. And that makes a big difference.
It's huge.
Well, I mean, think about how many different businesses. You look at different sectors. There are some that have enormous profit margins and don't spend hardly anything and maybe do it with 1 or 2 employees. Then you have these workhorse companies that have, a grocery store that might have 50 employees that is charging enough, on their product to pay those employees. And they're,
and there are a lot of companies that let me tell you, when they say, we have so many companies and only this amount are paying taxes. Well, a lot of those are shell corporations too. They may be corporations that were set up. They're tax filers, but they don't really operate,
Right. They don't do anything.
They don't do anything. They're just names that have been reserved or whatever. So you can play with those numbers any way you want, but why he didn't just come in and take some of the recommendations of the task force, reform the exemptions.
Well, maybe he didn't think they would work. Maybe he thought that would be less of something that would fly with the people.
Maybe they thought it wouldn't hoover in enough money to keep all of these wasteful programs going.
Now, let me ask you this about and I will start with Warren on this one, the idea of the whole roads and bridges things. I mean, you guys agree your buying power is not the same as it was years ago, or do you not agree with that?
Here's what I agree with. First of all, everybody keeps asking the same question. Where did the money go? What did we get for the money we gave you? Where is it? What happened? What I would like to see is something that we keep hearing this word transparency thrown out all the time. They were supposed to come out with that list of contracts and state government and all that. I think that every department should have to have a website where somebody can go on there. I mean, it would take 400,000 years probably to do it, but at least can go on there and see where the money's going, who all is being paid. I know, and there was one place that where I used to live years ago, they said there was an engineer over there that had a little firm, and basically he got paid a percentage of every road project to sign off on it.
Yeah,
of course, now he was a little bit politically connected, and that and so I've heard just like the lawsuits where they would have the law firms for the state senators. Law firms would settle the state lawsuits. Well, they can do it better than our
of course.
Employees can. I mean, and just all of that kind of stuff needs to be where people can see it, figure out where the money's going, and you got some of these watchdog groups. I can tell you what, they can figure it out really, really quick.
Okay, and that's
put it
why
out there.
I want somebody to give me an answer, and I'll continue to ask my questions about that 11 cents on the dollar. Is that a real number? Does that bring in the amount of people that you have to have in engineering? Does it bring in? Are you paying people that work on the state to get these projects done? I mean, what is included in that for the 11 cents that they're speaking of? And are they speaking of 11 cents out of the transportation fund? Are they speaking about 11 cents out of the overall budget that is being spent? All of the money in Louisiana, because those are two very big different numbers too.
Well, I think there are different metrics that everybody.
That's what I'm saying.
But I've heard 11%. I've heard 19%. Even if it's 19%,
I agree.
Do you think that's enough?
Would you give your money to a charity that their return on the investment is they only helped 19 out of 100 people? Hell no.
No. That's what we need. We need a government navigator, just like they have charity navigator that analyzes. Somebody who does a real audit.
I asked Bernie a few weeks ago. Remember in the even in the Obama administration pretty heavily, but after Katrina, all the czars. What happened to the czar? We need a good one right now.
Did you see the story the other day? The lower 9th Ward has still not been rebuilt.
No.
Has still not been rebuilt.
We need a czar. Anyone want to throw in their resume?
No, and you know why? Because those that in many cases people are trained to look to government for the solution. Unfortunately, more and more that is happening. More and more people are looking to government.
And
but you look at what happened. It's a tale of two storms: Katrina and Rita. Rita, the people just helped each other, got rebuilt. It was done on the local level. Charities helped each other, and people helped each other, and it got done. They didn't look to government necessarily to make them whole again.
Do you think the difference is that it was a really urban area?
I think it was two things. I think it was the urban area.
Yes.
And then also the fact that it actually happened. How many times have we been told, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, and then we want to slap Henny Penny because the sky didn't fall. And so you have one storm right after the other. And let me tell you something. People didn't wait. My friend Jason worked 40 hours had a second job, and then went home at 5 o'clock every day and worked till 9 o'clock until he fixed his own house. Now, it took him 4 months of doing this. He didn't wait on anybody. He went and got all of the stuff
His
himself.
expectation was not
That's
that anybody
right.
was going to come
He
in and do it
knew-
for him.
That's right. He knew
it's
nobody
a whole
was gonna help him.
cultural.
Yeah.
Let me throw out this word, zeitgeist. Yes, it's a whole way of looking at life, at looking at things that the rugged individuals out, who have to deal with this all the time out in the prairies and the coastal
Sure.
areas.
I mean, you
it's
either
just
get
a different
eaten by the
mindset.
bear, or you kill
shoot
the bear. I mean, come on, Warren.
Look, the one thing I think that I would really like to see, I think this state needs more than anything, and I proposed this back a few years ago, is we need to have some kind of watchdog civic groups.
We had an inspector general at one time, didn't we?
Those groups need to have subpoena power, where they sit there. Just like, remember when they had the airport deal came up a few years ago, and you had that group that wanted to look in there and see where all the money went and all this.
Now I'm gonna say, not only is it that somebody else needs to be watching out. Part of social media, that is a wonderful part of social media, because more people are paying attention, and in their spare time they can look at things. But you combine that, you have to be very careful with that, because in the last 25 years, I cannot tell you what I have seen in this business. And the amount of people, look, even at this town now, people may pick on certain entities that give information, but look at how many people are left on staffs around here.
I understand, but what I'm saying that
But I agree with you. We need
but
that.
that group should have subpoena power, because as it stands now, everything goes to the DA. The DA has absolute power of who to prosecute, when to prosecute them, where to prosecute them, and if they don't like what comes across their desk, they just simply put it in the bottom drawer and investigate it for the next 30 years or ever how long they're in office. Those things, you got to shine the light of truth on it.
But you have a hard time doing that, too, when you have less people to do it. Now, see, our guy here, he's a local guy, and he likes the fact that we try to do every single thing that we can. That's why that's why they decided to add the shows. Why do we need 4 more hours of local programming? Because Rob knows it. He knows that local is what matters, that people are what matter. Carol's there from 2 to 4. Now you got Shannon and Brandon. They're there from 4 to 6.
And
why
I'll
did
tell you
we do
this.
it? That's why we did it.
I don't know if I've ever even told you this, but the part that always kept a knot in my stomach, okay? Anytime we had a threat of a storm, a threat of a flood, even winter weather or anything like that, it made me cringe to think in the afternoons we couldn't tell people where sandbags were. And we couldn't connect people that were calling. How many times have we seen it happen here? We talked with the Grand, when the Grand tragedy happened. People were calling us, and other people were calling to give them information through us, like a conduit. And
it's a town hall on the air. It's
that's
really
what
it's supposed to be to get that information. I've always said, and I've said this for many years, I wish we had a Judicial Watch Louisiana, because they have done more work to uncover more wrongdoing in government on both sides, Republicans and Democrats.
Somebody can make a whole lot of money if they're listening to this. If your group is put together the right way and done the right way, you're going to get a hell of a lot of members. People are willing to pay money for that.
I begged CB for many years. I said, CB, you're the one to do it.
Hey, let's take a quick break.
Yep.
If we can get our guys to stay for one more segment,
Please.
I do want to talk about the national issue, what kind of happened with the Sean Spicer thing yesterday, and also kind of where we are in Washington at this point. It is 8:03 now. We skipped right over news. We'll come back to wrap up Wingin' It Wednesday next on Acadiana's Morning News.
Okay, so what he should have said from the beginning was he should have said that very last part right at the beginning.
He should have just said,
said
even Hitler
nothing.
didn't use... You're right. If he was going to say anything at all, he should have been clear about the whole dropping them from a plane. Because he didn't have to drop to the plane. He walked people to it, it seems like.
I just think y'all leave Hitler out of everything anymore. Seriously. Because how are you ever going to compare one situation?
Let's see. One brought the gas to the people, and the other one brought the people to the gas.
Right. You understand what I'm saying?
It's horrible. Either way, don't even use that comparison. It's a no-win situation.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
They need to take a page out of Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, the Saul Alinsky deal, where that if you're going to use Hitler, you make sure that you connect Hitler and his National Socialist of the 1930s with the National Socialist of today, and which is what Saul Alinsky said: vilify your opponent as much as possible, hang all these people around their necks, compare them to the most evil people in the world, and on and on. So, you know, when the National Socialists that we have today, which were who? The Democrat Party, who got out there, and they're the ones who were rioting because they didn't like an election. They're the ones who were breaking glass in buildings. They're the ones who were burning cars and all that. Isn't that the same thing we saw in the 1930s? But what do? They call Republicans Hitler. No. Hitler was a socialist, just like they are. So, you know, that's what this group needs. Our group needs to do. You want to mention Hitler? Then mention him in relation to them. Sean Spicer made a huge mistake yesterday. Shouldn't even mention him at all.
Yep.
Not have mentioned him at all. And
I mean, do you think his days are numbered?
Yeah, and tell me something. How does Stalin get off the hook? Why is it always Hitler? Had Stalin killed more of his own people than anybody else in history?
Because Stalin was on the winning side of World War II.
Exactly.
The winners always get more favorable coverage. Plus, the Democrats...
Yeah, because they write the history books.
The Democrats loved the former Soviet Union.
And at the time, they were on our side. You're right.
But even after that, the
Democrats
big fear was the fascists. Soviet Union.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Every time you turn around... They wanted
Who
to
writes the
emulate
history
them.
books?
They passed all these laws to try to emulate them. So, but you're right. He made, Stalin said one time about Hitler. He said Hitler's a pretty nice guy. He's just not tough enough.
That's saying a lot. All right, guys. Sorry, this expanded version of Wingin' It Wednesday was great. I liked it.
Yeah, you guys were.
And we didn't even get around
amazing.
to the horrendous United Airlines video.
Oh, let's do it. We have some time. Let's do it.
If you have a couple minutes,
I was going to
love
spare
think
you guys.
Yeah.
I thought y'all had the look on your faces.
This man he's so kind.
We can only handle an hour in this room with this cat. So United is now United. You know what? I saw something actually really funny, and it said,
which one?
It said Delta said, I'm going to screw thousands of people out of their flights and cause all kind of trouble. And then it said, United, hold my beer. And then Sean Spicer says, y'all both calm down. I'm going to take all the focus off of you guys.
I got this.
So the United guy, it has been misreported a lot. And one of your callers into your show kind of corrected, not your reporting, but just in general, people think that this was an overbooked flight and the guy was taken off to make room for the seat. United says this was not an overbooked flight. It was a 4-person crew that was trying to get to another city for another flight who said, we need to get on this plane, which was why if there's ever an overbooking situation, the people never actually make it to the plane.
You want to know the closest thing to a totalitarian state in this country, and that's any airport. You go the TSA and the airlines, and you cannot fight with... Listen, 25 years ago, my husband and I had boarding passes in our hands in Dallas, and American Airlines, we got to the counter to check in. Give us your boarding passes. Gate aid, the woman checking. No, we have boarding passes. I mean, we paid for these seats, blah, blah. Give me those boarding passes. My husband started. Do you understand? These are legitimate boarding passes. As far as we know, the flight was not overbooked, whatever. Give me those boarding. And she called the security guard over and was about to get us thrown out. I've never flown American Airlines since, but they have total control.
You don't realize that.
Total control.
Last weekend, flying on Delta, I had some delays till I got there, and you start to think about how many people are not either home or at their destination. They're in this middle ground where... there was this one lady.
Oh, and by the way, we had to stay overnight. We had to stay overnight.
Yeah, I mean,
and we had to pay for it.
Yes, yeah, it's a mess.
This was a convenience for United. By the way, Continental used to be a good airline.
Till they merged.
They took it over.
Yeah, kept the name.
Because the executives, I think they wanted to cash out when they were flying high. Continental was a relatively one of the best. It was typically rated one of the best airlines. And look what's happened since. Yeah. But I tell you, there was no excuse for them dragging that man off that plane. I'm sorry. I don't care. He got back on. That was a convenience for the airlines. It wasn't a necessity. It wasn't anything like that.
Look, what about that reporter in Washington, D.C. who started to dig up background on the doctor that has nothing to do with anything? No. Now, it just so happened the guy was trading drugs for sex.
But
that doesn't matter.
He is not a sterling character.
It doesn't matter.
That's exactly right. And will they admit that into court when he files a multi-million-dollar lawsuit? I don't think so.
Well, is he a Republican?
And with that, Wingin' It Wednesday brought to you every week by Service Cadillac. Go get a 2016.
Yes.
There's still about 15 to 20 on the lot over there.
You will see me today because I'm going to be at the wash.
Okay.
Okay, because the pollen has become... It's
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what happened in the last 4 days, but it's so just go to the wash.
It's a sight to
3.5
see.
minutes. It'll look like somebody like took your car and did all this fancy stuff to it. You in, you out, and you get it cleanish right there, right next to Service Chevrolet.
1212 Ambassador Caffrey near
I'll see you
I-10.
there. I'll wave. You want me to take a video while I'm in there?
No, ask
you wanna
Vernon
go
to
with
clean
me?
your car. That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Ask her to vacuum out your car.
Yeah.
You're taking mine after the show, right?
Yeah.
In my
Not.
dreams. It is 8:18 now. We're back to talk about Moody Gardens, just down I-10 from us, and what they have to offer going into your spring break. Stay with us.
Go Cajuns.